Welcome back to our channel, where we dive deep into the heart and soul of Port Charles. And let me tell you, my fellow soap lovers, my jaw is absolutely on the floor with where things could be heading next. I have watched this show for over 40 years, through every single wedding, every preposterous resurrection, and every heartbreaking goodbye. And if my instincts are correct, we are on the verge of a storyline so deliciously complex, so emotionally devastating, and so utterly brilliant that it might just rewrite the fabric of our afternoon viewing. We have been watching these characters grow, stumble, and rebuild their lives for decades. And right now, the writers have a golden opportunity to deliver a masterclass in psychological drama. It all centers around three of my absolute favorite people to watch: Rick, Liz, and Dante, and a web of secrets that is so tangled, it threatens to choke the very life out of everyone involved. If you ask me, folks, we are not just looking at a standard romantic triangle here. We are looking at a high-stakes life and death thriller that will redefine what it means to love and survive in this crazy town. Let's start with Rick, because goodness knows, this man has always been his own worst enemy, and what is coming next is going to push him right over the edge. Imagine the absolute tragedy of Rick discovering he is facing a severe terminal illness, a ticking clock that leaves him with limited time. Now, a normal person might seek comfort, might open up to the woman he has loved for what feels like a lifetime. But this is Rick we are talking about. His immediate instinct is not to share his vulnerability, but to weaponize it in the most desperate, heartbreaking way possible by keeping the diagnosis a complete secret from Liz. He wants to keep her close, to wrap her in a cocoon of his own making, believing that if she knows the truth, she will only stay out of pity, or worse, that the truth will somehow break the fragile bond they are trying to rebuild. It is classic vintage Rick, manipulative, deeply flawed, yet so profoundly human in his terror of being left alone in the dark. He is going to use every ounce of his intellect to hide the physical toll of his sickness, creating a ticking time bomb of a secret that is bound to blow up in his face. And then we have our sweet, resilient Liz, a woman who has spent her entire life caring for others, nursing the sick, and holding together a family through sheer force of will. She has a heart that is far too big for her own good, and she has always had this tragic, beautiful tendency to want to fix broken men. But Liz is not a fool, and she is certainly not the naive young girl who arrived in town all those years ago. She is a mother, a dedicated professional, and a survivor. If she senses that Rick is pulling away or hiding something massive from her, it is going to trigger every single defensive instinct she has. She deserves real, unvarnished honesty after everything she has been through, and watching her navigate Rick's increasingly bizarre behavior is going to be absolutely agonizing. She is going to try so hard to be there for him, sensing his unspoken pain, while completely unaware that the man she is trying to support is actively deceiving her about the very nature of his existence. It is a recipe for pure, unadulterated soap opera heartbreak, and I am already gripping my tissues just thinking about the emotional fallout. But of course, the universe of Port Charles is never that simple, and this is where Dante comes crashing into the narrative like a freight train of pure, raw emotion. Dante is a man absolutely drowning in his own grief, still reeling from the devastating loss of Sam, trying to keep his head above water while raising his family and doing his job. He is a cop to his very core, but right now, his shield cannot protect him from the hollow ache in his chest. When Dante and Liz cross paths, it is not just a casual meeting of two acquaintances. It is the collision of two battered souls who recognize the exact same brand of sorrow in each other's eyes. They are both trying to be strong for everyone else, putting on a brave face for their kids and their families, but when they are together, the masks can finally slip. That kind of shared vulnerability is incredibly potent, and it lays the groundwork for a connection that is so much deeper than mere physical attraction. They are finding a quiet sanctuary in each other's presence, a place where they do not have to pretend to be okay, and that is a terrifyingly beautiful thing. Now, hold on to your hats, guys, because this is where the plot takes a massive adrenaline-fueled turn into the fast lane. Imagine Dante and Liz being suddenly and violently dragged into a high-stakes investigation involving the WSB, a case that unearths a dark, long-buried secret from the history of Port Charles. This is not just a routine police inquiry. This is a dangerous, shadow-drenched conspiracy that forces them to work side by side, relying on each other's instincts and bravery just to stay alive. We are talking about late-night stakeouts, decoding encrypted files, and dodging operatives who want this secret to stay dead and buried forever. This shared danger is going to act like an accelerant on their growing bond, forcing them into intense, claustrophobic situations where they only have each other to trust. Every touch, every whispered warning in the dark, every shared sigh of relief after a close call is going to chip away at their defenses, fusing their lives together in a way that neither of them ever saw coming. They are not just comforting each other anymore. They are partners in a fight for the truth, and that is a bond forged in fire. Meanwhile, back in the shadows, Rick is going to be watching all of this unfold with a growing sense of absolute horror and desperation. He is going to see the distance growing between himself and Liz, and because his mind is warped by his illness and his own insecurities, he is going to blame Dante. He is going to convince himself that Dante is actively stealing his woman, moving in on his territory while he is too weak to fight back. But the tragic, poetic irony of the situation is that Dante is not the one driving Liz away. Rick is doing that all by himself. It is his own silence, his own elaborate web of lies, and his refusal to trust Liz with the truth of his condition that is creating an impassable chasm between them. Liz can feel the dishonesty. She can feel the walls he is building, and it is driving her right into the open, honest arms of a man who has nothing left to hide. Watching Rick realize this, watching him spiral into a desperate, frantic state of mind as he clutches at a handful of sand that is slipping through his fingers, is going to be some of the most compelling, heartbreaking television we have seen in years. But wait, it gets even more explosive, because Rick's desperation is about to trigger the ultimate game-changing twist of this entire saga. In his frantic, chaotic attempts to dig up dirt on Dante, anything to discredit him in Liz's eyes, or perhaps in a desperate bid to find some leverage within the system, Rick is going to accidentally pull on a thread he should have left well alone. He is going to activate a dormant, highly classified secret involving Lulu, Sam, and a piece of evidence that has been buried in the archives for years. We are talking about a bombshell clue that completely rewrites the history of Sam's tragic, untimely passing. What if her death was not the simple tragedy we were all led to believe? What if there was a shadow player, a hidden agenda, or a massive cover-up orchestrated by forces far beyond our imagination? This is the kind of twist that makes my heart race, folks. Rick, in his absolute blindness to anything but his own selfish desire to keep Liz, is going to unleash a monster that will tear the entire community apart. This discovery is going to change everything for Dante and Liz, shifting their dynamic from a tentative, grief-stricken romance into a fierce, unstoppable crusade for justice. They're going to realize that the conspiracy they are fighting is directly tied to the woman Dante loved and lost, and the family they are both desperate to protect. As they work together to untangle this massive web of deceit, they are going to find themselves locked in a connection that is completely irreversible. They are no longer just two lonely people finding solace in a dark room. They are a team, a united front, standing against a massive, corrupt entity. The sheer weight of what they are uncovering, the truth about Sam, the danger to Lulu, the secrets of the WSB, is going to cement their partnership in stone. They will be looking into each other's eyes and realizing that no one else in the world can truly understand the burden they are carrying or the fire they have had to walk through together. It is a love story born of tragedy, baptized in danger, and solidified by a shared, heroic mission. And what of poor, tragic Rick? In the end, his desperate schemes will have achieved the exact opposite of what he wanted. He wanted to keep Liz by his side to be her ultimate focus, her tragic hero. Instead, his lies, his manipulations, and his accidental triggering of this massive conspiracy will have served as the ultimate catalyst, The very hand that guided Liz directly into Dante's arms and locked them together forever. He did not just lose the woman he loved, he actively built the bridge that allowed her to cross over to someone else. It is a Shakespearean level of tragedy for a character we have loved to hate and hated to love for so many years. As his illness inevitably catches up with him, he will have to face the cold, hard truth that he was the architect of his own isolation. This is the kind of storytelling that keeps us glued to our screens day after day, year after year, rich, character-driven, emotionally complex, and utterly unpredictable. Will Dante and Liz survive the explosive truth they are about to uncover, and can Rick find any semblance of redemption before his time finally runs out? Only time will tell, but you can bet your life I will be right here, watching every single second.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.